Hey y'all, welcome. I'm Christine. Thanks so much for joining. Sorry this video is a little bit late getting out. I had some technical difficulties, had my video about finished, and somehow erased it. So anyhow, we're moving right along. Project number 1. I picked up this little galvanized looking tissue holder at Goodwill. I've already put the bonding primer coat on it. Because it's a slick surface, I just wanted that on there, so I've already put that on there. So just remember, any slick surfaces, you'll want to do that. But I am going to use this IOD mold. This is my first time using this, and this is the He Loves Me. And it's little flowers, little daisies. How cute, y'all. Anyhow, so for the first time, I am using amazing casting resin with my molds. I usually use the clay, but I wanted to make some up and put it in my stash to use for later, so I'm going to try the casting resin. Now this sets up in about 10 minutes, and what you're going to do is use equal parts of A and B, and I did use my gloves, and when you mix them together, it's going to be a opaque, cloudy look, so you're going to stir it till it becomes clear. When it becomes clear, it's ready. Now when it gets ready, because it sets up so fast, make sure you're ready to pour. So I wasn't sure how much to use. I think I just did 10 of each, and I did have to add a little bit more, but that was an easy mix after I had emptied it. So pour it slowly, especially on like this leaf I'm pouring here. If you've got a skinny little part that it needs to go to, just pour slowly. So look how easily these pop out. This is great. So when it turns white, it's ready to go. Now, if you're putting it on immediately, you'll want it a little bit more pliable, so don't wait for it to set completely. That may sound weird, but 10 minutes, be kind of ready if you're going, especially on a curved surface. Now, I've heard people say that even if it's completely dry, you can use a heat gun or maybe your blow dryer and kind of work with it to make it a little bit flexible again. I am using my Titebond Quick and Thick. I'm thinking maybe I should have used super glue. I don't know. If y'all work with this, y'all let me know what you think. It's holding great, but it did leak a little underneath. It did spread a little. It didn't really mess with anything. It kind of got shiny, and I kind of had to use a wet wipe and wipe it back and paint that place over again. But I'm thinking next time I'm going to use my super glue for this, and maybe not the Titebond. Like I'm saying, it got a great hold, but I just, Anyhow, so I'm using masking tape when I lay it down where I want it, just to make sure to hold it in place to give it time to set up. So I'm just doing molds on opposing sides. I'm not going to go all the way around with the mold, because you're going to see why in just a little bit. But then I'm going to paint 2 coats of this Dixie Belle fluff. Now this is a pretty white. It's not a stark white, but it's a real pretty white. And I started doing a brush, and then you always get these little bristles off your brush, and then I thought I do not want it to show brush strokes, and I kind of thought maybe with this tin it might. So I'm doing more of a stamping motion, and also that gives it more of a textural look. Now I only did 2 coats. I will say, for anything with this tin galvanized look, 2 coats if you want it completely covered. You're probably going to have to do 3, but I don't mind a little bit of that metal look coming through. So just keep that in mind also. Just let it dry completely and see how you like it. You might even want to sand it down and get more of that tin look as well. That's certainly optional, but I just did 2 good coats of it, and I went around just doing this stamping motion, and I really like that because it does look kind of textural, so I really enjoyed using that. Now, it's my first time using this transfer booklet from IOD. Y'all, they're my favorite transfers. I like Redesign with Prima too, but the IOD is something about the way that they lay down. They just tend to be smooth. I really like them. So this was part of the spring release collection, and this is the Lover of Flowers. They happen to have some daisies in there, so that's what I'm using. Now, this daisy transfer here is too long to fit on my piece, but I'm going to cut it. So don't be afraid to cut your transfers. However, I'm just using my big scissors. You can certainly use more detailed scissors and get all the way around those leaves if you want to. But I'm just cutting the leaf off. That's going to be one set. So I'm going to put that on the other opposing sides. But don't be afraid to do this. Now, use those grid lines for where you want to lay these at. And of course, with your transfers, you're just going to lay them down. You're going to use your little transfer tool to push that into your product. And then you're going to take that top part there, that's the clear part, and you're going to take that, and I thought I was going to use my masking tape. I didn't need to. It's not big enough project to use my masking tape. But you're going to use that top coat to burnish that into your project. And that just means that it's going to, sometimes your transfer, when you lay it down, pieces of it will still be raised up. So you're just going to take that and mesh it down into your project. Just think when you were little and you did the little kid tattoos. It's kind of the same premise, really, now that I think of it. You know, sometimes if you took it off, you had to kind of rub it with your hand to get that side in. Your transfers will do the same way. So, and at the end, there was this little word that said daisy. So I just decided where to put it, and I put that on there as well. And then we're going to come back in and do some more to the resin molds because I just thought they looked a little too bland. I'm going to use this in my home, so I personalized it to me. Now, if I were putting it in my booth, I would do some wax on it or something, but I'm going to add some color to those daisies to make them more of a daisy and look more like the transfers so that it all blends well. So when you're crafting, you can blend different art pieces together, different types of your crafts together, molds, your transfers, you know, pieces that stick out that have a 3D effect to them. Don't be afraid to combine your products. You'd be surprised. You're really going to like that. So when that is set up good, I'm coming in with Waverly chalk paint, and I'm using the colors moss and maize because the moss is going to be for that leaf mold, and the maize is going to be, of course, for the daisy. And I'm going to take the maize and do the inside, but I'm also going to take this little paintbrush and do a little bit of outlining around the leaves just so that they're not stark white. And then once all that dries, I am going to come in and seal everything real well. And then, y'all, this project is finished. Let me know what you think of this. You know, tissue covers were big at one point, and then I think they've kind of gone away. But these little boxes that have these designs on them, I guess it's better than it just saying Kleenex or Puffs, but I don't know. I still want something other, and this is a pretty addition, I think, to my home. you guys, project number 2. This was just a Dollar Tree tray that I've had in my stash for a while. We're going to totally make this over. So I did do 2 coats of that bonding primer like I did in the first project, just because this is a slick surface and I wanted to make sure that my paint and everything else, that my details would adhere to this goods. And I did end up, after everything was dry, that bonding primer, I did do a little bit of sanding in the bottom. I don't know if it left some like gritty surface or not, but I did sand it a little bit, so that's why you can see it's a little streaked there. I'm going to use this cake fondant mold, so keep that in mind whenever you're in your craft store. Look around at your cake supplies and look at their molds as well, because you might find something different than what you can find for a normal crafting project. You can certainly use the cake molds too. So when you're using the air dry clay, and I am using DOS, that is the best, make sure you put some cornstarch in the bottom. That's just going to be able to keep it from sticking to your mold itself. That way it'll flip over and flip out good. I keep my DOS clay in a freezer bag. I make sure I get all the air out. That's just to keep it from drying. So make sure it's sealed good and get all the air out. Now I had to make 6 of this mold to fit around the tray, and I'm going to miter around the edges, okay? I'm using my Tight Bond Quick and Thick to adhere. That's the best for these. With the clay molds, that's the best. So I'm just lining it up here, and I always put too much of the glue, so I'm just using a wet wipe to wipe that back, and I use my fingers. And of course it's still kind of a slick surface and it's not flat, so my mold won't slide a little bit. And pardon my big head, y'all. Look at me. Y'all gonna be seeing my hair here for a little bit. Thank goodness I've colored it, so you can't really see the roots. So there you go. Anyhow, I'm going to miter it. So you see how I have some hanging over that edge? I'm going to come back with this second piece, and I'm going to lay that on top of that piece, and then it's going to hang off the other edge. So you're going to see what I'm talking about here in just a second. But I am going to use my craft knife, my little art palette knife, and then I'm going to use it and line it up with that corner, because you've got a little seam in this little tray, so it helps to line it up. And then I'm just going to slice down. See me here? So then I'm just going to take the excess off, and then I did have to take the length off the other one, because that cut it to miter it. Then I had to take the length off the other. Now I would suggest pushing these together good with your finger, your molds. Mine did separate a little bit, but I think because I did not paint it when it was wet. I normally don't let my glue dry and my clay dry. I normally paint before them, because I believe it does help with some shrinkage, and it also helps from having cracks for it cracking. But you can see me here. I've left in this footage just so you can see me going around here trying to even up my mold, and you can see me laying it down and then mitering the edges. Now I did use painter's tape just to hold this in place so that it could dry, and I did let mine dry overnight. It wouldn't take that long to dry, but I did just go ahead and let mine dry overnight. I'm just going to remove that painter's tape, and I'm doing 2 coats of that fluff Dixie Belle chalk paint again, and same method as before on our first project. I'm going to use that stamping method just to get some more texture, and so I'm not seeing any brush strokes there. And 2 coats was a good coverage for this tray. And you can see there it's not completely together. Again, I think that's because I let it dry and I really didn't smush it together. So if you smushed it together, it would look like one continuous piece, but that is obviously where the 2 pieces lined up and it just dried and pulled a little bit apart. But I'm not minding that, because look how gorgeous this is. And keep in mind, this is Dollar Tree tray, y'all. So go grab some for some craft projects, because it's an idea. Now I'm going into my IOD transfer booklet. That's the seed catalog. These are gorgeous. So look at these flowers. I've been wondering what to put these on, and I really like it on this tray. So I'm going to have to lay it long ways on the tray. It was a little bit larger, but I'm going to let it go up the edges. I'm not going to cut it to fit in. And it did crack a little bit there, but I still love it. So I would recommend, I'm using some painter's tape to hold one end down. Y'all don't know why I'm coming up the other end, but I'm just working a little bit of it. See that I'm going to pull it after it sticks. Now, when you have surfaces that are long like this, you can always just cut some slits in your transfer. That works, and I ended up doing that some. But make sure you're pushing it in whatever grooves with your fingers first before you do it with your transfer tool. And that's just going to help to make sure that it all gets in there. And I did get all of it in there, but it did separate a little bit in that edge. But the end result is beautiful. So we're just going to clear coat this after we get through with our transfer. And you can see, once I got through with a good bit of the bottom, because this transfer is so long and I'm working in that surface that's not flat, I did cut a little bit of that top carrier piece off some. That just helped me to be able to work with what was left. This is gorgeous, but y'all let me know what you think. In our final project number 3, I found this little flower. I'm going to call it a flower pocket. It's standalone, though. It's not a wall pocket. And I found this at Goodwill, and it's got some nice raised little detail on it that I really like. But I am going to try my hand at this sea spray from Dixie Belle to make some more texture to it. Y'all, Seabolt, he's walking in and out. You'll see him a couple times, and he's wagging his little tail. Anyhow, so I did not measure my paint nor the sea spray, but I put my paint in, put some sea spray in it, added some more, whatever I needed to. I'm going to mix this up. You want it like a peanut butter consistency is what it says. So when I got it to where I thought I would want it, and I tried not to mix up too much, and I mixed it almost just right, I am going to use just one coat. So make sure you get good coverage, and I'm going to use that same stamping method. Now, I did not want to do the rim of this. I'm going to paint the rim with that fluff chalk paint again. I just wanted something a little different, and I'm only going to use one coat of that fluff as well, so it's not completely covering up this bronzy brown color. But you can see me doing this stamping motion. I did have to come back and fill in a couple places where it looked like it was, I guess I kind of brushed also. So I did have to come back and fill in a couple places because I do want to cover up that bronze here when I'm doing the pink. This is Cashmere from Folk Art. It is a very soft pink, and I thought it would just make a gorgeous kind of shabby chic piece, and it did turn out real nice. Now, you can see me painting that bottom rim, but I do come back with that fluff and I paint the bottom rim too. I didn't mind that it already had one coat of that textured paint on it. I did come back and do it. Like I said, I'm just going around here around the edge. Pretty thick, but I'm not really worried about covering up all of that bronze color just to give some more detail to it. And then I go around the bottom as well. I did not paint the inside of this piece. Likely, I'm going to put it in my booth, and likely whoever gets it is going to put flowers in it. So it's going to be covered up anyhow. And I did not mind that bronze color at all in the inside of it. So, but likely somebody's going to put flowers in it because that's really the use of it. I mean, I guess you could put anything in it, but I think flowers would be the prettiest in it. So I thought about adding a transfer or a decoupage piece to this, but it's got so much texture anyhow. It was not a flat piece. It's got a lot of that raised detail. I'm hoping you can really see it. In the end, I think you can see it really good. So I just thought it didn't need anything else. But I do come back with my big brush over there and the fluff paint, and I did like a dry coat of that fluff all over just to add some more, I guess, highlights and dimension to the piece. If it was in the sunlight, you could see some shadowy places, so I really like the look of that. But I'm going to take the paint, take it on my paper towel, brush most of it off, and then I'm just going to dab that all over the piece. And then this is simple. This piece is finished. Y'all really drop me some comments and let me know what you think. I hope you liked these projects. I am loving all these IOD products. I'm going to be buying more and more. I can see my little craft room is just going to be growing. I can see it. But I really enjoy these projects. Hope you did. Drop me a line. If you haven't subscribed already, please consider smashing that subscribe button. I'd appreciate it so much. Thank you, guys.